On this show of St. Louis in Tune, we're going to be talking to author Jim Merkel about his new book. We're going to talk about coffee benefits, social media nonsense, and honor those who have fallen on Memorial Day. Well, greetings, listeners in listener land. Welcome to St. Louis in Tune with Arnold Stricker and Mark Langston, where we size up current and historic events involving people, places, and things in areas such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, government, health, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports. We originate from and connect the gateway city to what is happening regionally, nationally, and internationally. How are you, Mark Langston?
I'm fine, Arnold Stricker. I want to work on your name backwards.
Oh, my gosh.
I can't. I've got to write it and then do it.
I wrote it out one time. I was like, I can't remember this.
Did you do it backwards? You don't remember?
Yes,
what
I don't remember.
Mine is Notskanal Cram.
I have enough trouble remembering my name forward.
Okay. This is all right. Yes, I know. Yep. Okay.
I got to pull my return to civility out because it involves parents and it involves children, and we're going to talk more about that in some social media nonsense coming up later on in the show. But return to civility, folks. Avoid putting your children in trying situations that test their patience. Be aware of their limits and help them succeed at being well behaved. And I'm going to add a little addendum to that. And sometimes it involves saying
no.
Avoid putting your children in trying situations that test their patience, and I would add, and your patience as well. That would be like going through the aisle at the grocery store where all the candy is located.
No.
So maybe you want to not take them.
No. So my parents never said no to the candy. They just said, your teeth are going to fall out of your head.
That's right.
So it was more of a threat. It was like this mental image of a picture that my teeth are going to rot and fall out of my head.
I know giving choices also is good.
Right. No, wait. You just say no. You don't say, hey, let's think about this. Let's talk this through a little bit. Do you ever do that?
No.
Okay. Just wanted to know.
Maybe we could do that later on.
Okay.
Or we could have something. We have something at home very similar to that you really like.
Okay. That would be your answer instead of no?
Then when they pressed it more, we're going to get that at home.
Okay. All right.
Then the final answer would be no.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We're not going to do that.
No, we're not. No. Okay.
But we want to say yes to Jim Merkel. He is an author, and he's going to talk about his new book, Walking South City. Now, I've got some great questions for him about Walking South City. But Jim's written several other books, and he has covered South St. Louis and St. Louis City Hall for the old suburban journals of Greater St. Louis. Some people who remember the suburban journals.
I miss
it. It was a great newspaper.
I miss it.
Yeah.
Because they were West County Journal, Mid County Journal. They had all the journals.
Right. It was
I really
always fun to remember them. He lives with his wife, Lorraine, and their cat, Miss Jenny. We're going to have to ask about Miss Jenny in the Bevo Mill neighborhood. So welcome back, Jim. How are you doing?
Oh, great. I've got something about the time I spent in the suburban journals. I was walking along Chippewa and came up on a viaduct. And I found myself facing the building where I spent 15 years, the best 15 years of my career, except for the time that I was at the covering the Webster Grove School Board, but that's another story. During my tenure, I would sometimes walk to the highest point of the viaduct and look back at the building. Inside, we produced news stories and features about the surrounding neighborhoods and beyond. From 1994 to 2009, I sat in a chair at the same spot in the same cubicle in the newsroom, and I might add, in the universe. The company paid just enough for us to drive 10-year-old cars. Nonetheless, we had a sense of one for all for one, and believed our tasks were important things. So I talked about, somebody slugged me, got into an argument with me, and this is a guy given to a temper, and I realized that he was looking for something, and I had it in my hand, and I held it, and I pushed it forward, and he took that as threatening. And of course, he was fired on the spot, but then they wrote me up for getting him upset.
And that was at the Journal?
That was at the Journal.
Wow.
Anyway, it says, but after that, one day, they just announced that they were going to that they were going to ship us out to the West County. I thought I cleared all my stuff out, and then I had to come back. And in that time, the whole cubicle where I'd spent 15 years of my life was gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
that's sad.
That's sad. And that was the story of my life.
Now, is that viaduct on Chippewa the one just past Gravois?
Yeah, the one that just passed Gravois.
Yeah, so
the one just west of Gravois.
Yeah, because there's one on Gravois and then there's one on Chippewa. And so you were on the viaduct on Chippewa?
On the viaduct on Chippewa.
So was that building the one where they have like the bridal shop? There was a bridal shop
well,
in there?
it was that was just a different one. It's a little bit to the east. And it really was a time when you would go, what other newspaper would put on the front page at the top a story about a Catholic school closing?
They were really local papers back then.
They were local papers.
Yeah,
they were the same kind of thing as the
Webster Kirkwood Times?
What the Webster Kirkwood Times is.
Right.
And the news that you'll get in the Post, Dispatch, and on is important, but it's also stuff that's local. And I spent 16 years of my time in Pennsylvania writing for small town papers, and I understood that was really what it was. But anyway, that was the beginning, and from there, of course, I went all the way from that segment of it. I went all the way on Chippewa to Jameson.
Okay. Now this book, and I'm showing this Walking South City, as I recall, because we had a conversation about this a while back, and when you were working on this.
Sure.
And this happened during the pandemic. This was the time when you were doing all these things and writing this, getting all this material?
It was 2021.
Okay.
Actually, I had my first walk, I think the 16th of January.
Not that you recall that date.
Not that I recall that date. Yeah. And it was during the pandemic. And there was one incident where I walked along and I looked down and there was a COVID mask. And of course, you didn't see that before, but all of a sudden, when people were done, they just threw it on the ground and they didn't care. But it was very much of the time. And there was another incident. I had a very close friend who I would get together all the time with, and Vic was such a good guy. But he told me he had cancer, and then after a while, he went, and I described this because I walk past a SLU hospital on Shoto, and I look over, and he was in SLU hospital. I wasn't able to go see him, and so he would call me, or I would call him every once in a while. It got shorter and shorter, and finally, I did not hear from him. And I don't know what happened to him.
That's sad.
Yeah, but we weren't family, and he didn't have family in St. Louis.
Right.
But that was another example of that. And you tell me, like, the logical thing is, but because if he was still alive, he'd call me.
So you got out just to walk around, probably just to get out of the house and get some exercise.
No,
I'm guessing.
no. We had, my editor and we met first time, I'm sure you know this, the Annex. We met at the Annex about January 4th or 5th of 2021. I told him I wanted to write a book, and we were outside in the back, and there was this heater on, and we were spaced out, and we discussed it, and he said his 12-year-old son, had taken a walk from his house in Lindenwood Park neighborhood all the way down to the Arch.
Wow, that's a long walk.
8 miles.
Yeah,
and
that's a haul.
And
seems longer though.
And he thought that was really good. He says, Bill Bryson, A Walk in the Woods. But I came up with a complete 45-mile, very winding map. And I would just say, we do this, and he said, no, go this way. I want to go north. No, you want to go east. And then all of a sudden, everything's gone. How come you left out the hill? So then I have to go back and just scrap it, so I've got it in a minute after before I die. The map will come out into my head, but
I'll read some chapters titles here,
okay,
which lets people know about this 45 or 48.
45
maybe
mile. 45 and .2. I don't know.
If you're going 45, .2 is nothing. So you're talking about Gravois Avenue to Chippewa. That's walking in the footsteps of Ulysses Grant. A ride on Route 66 or Route 66, however you want to pronounce it.
Route.
Chippewa Street from Gravois to Jameson. I follow a real estate genius, St. Louis Hills. That's very interesting. Rows of graves and a windmill.
Yeah.
Gravois and Hampton to Chippewa and Morganford. 3 sides of Tower Grove South. Morganford to Arsenal to South Grand. An old shopping district stays alive. Cherokee Street. Beer, boxing, and farmers at a market. Soulard neighborhood. Life in a museum. I love this one. Lafayette Square. Walking on K Street. West of Shodo and Manchester. I have to ask you about K Street.
That used to be the name way back.
Really?
Yeah.
And then on the road of Tam and the Avenue of Oaks, that's Oakland, Tam, Manchester, and then all things Italian, the Hill. Oh, keep going. Henry Shaw's masterpiece, Mansions on Compton and Virginia Avenue, my jaunt through the town of empty pockets.
That's Carondelet. That's Carondelet on South Broadway.
Graffiti, a lake and Gravois and gravestones in a park, Carondelet Park. Little Guys Hold the Line, Hampton from Loughborough to Arsenal, and the end of the road, Arsenal, Hampton to Kings Highway north to I-64. That's all over South City. Well,
That's all over. It's not everything. It misses chunks of Kings Highway. It misses a lot of South Broadway, say south of Lard. And there's that could have been around Soulard and Ohio. You go up a little bit and you've got where the Indian Mound is.
Right.
Yeah, and so other things. And it's but I did start on the one for Carondelet. I started in Belle Reeve Park, which is a wonderful place to look at the river.
I always like to look at the river. And now, are you overlooking? I haven't been there to that one. Are you overlooking like gas tanks and oil tanks and all the industrial area?
You can't avoid that completely, but it's pretty. And of course, I guess if you want to go down south, and I remember this from covering South Oakville, you can Beech Park.
Right, and JB Park, you can overlook.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But this is the best place south of the city. This is the best place in the mid-city and the south city to look at the river, I think.
Okay. Now, is that just south of 55 there on Broadway? Belle Reeve Park?
Belle Reeve Park, it's right next to Bates. Bates goes...
okay.
And
I've driven by there.
And then from there, you can also look back. Carondelet, of course, was founded just about the time that St. Louis was founded, and it was the place where there was a lot of work, a lot of
shipbuilding
during the Civil War, and
where the ironclads were built down there.
Yeah, and then I went back. There's south of Carondelet Park. There is something called the Carondelet Connector, and it's right next to where the little shopping center is, and with schnooks and stuff. And then you come up and you go under Loughborough.
Okay.
And there's this one train line, and there's this really cool, and people won't like it, cool graffiti. And there's this one thing where it looked like it was a really cool blue picture of a woman. And some other people would look at it and say that's nothing. And then from there I went through Carondelet Park and the lake, and then I went to the west, and I found this picture, this box. This actually a box used for traffic signals, and it had been painted black with these goofy eyes in it, and I took a picture, and it's in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for it here.
And let me see if I can.
Because you took most of the pictures in the book.
I didn't. There was a good photographer who took good.
Okay.
But
while you're looking for that, I want to mention this, that what you do in here, you have pictures of, some of these are historic and some of these are current, and then you give some historical information. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I went back there, and it was defaced.
Really?
Yeah, the graffiti guy thing got defaced.
Somebody didn't like that because their tag wasn't on it.
I don't know. I don't know why. But then I really got the sense that I didn't have it before, that when I got to Hampton and went north, it shows that the little businesses are thriving. Just like in Webster Groves, which the little businesses are. And then I made a right by the old state hospital, and it's now Actually, it's a place for people who mentally ill, people who've been found guilty of stuff, and then I went north on Kings Highway to where
Venter?
No, not Van Deventer, but to Highway 40.
Okay.
And there is a pedestrian bridge across, and
Right.
that's where I ended because I ran
somewhere.
I ran out of things, and
So how did you know which things to have pictures taken and to write about? How did you know on this one, this is, what church is that on the front there?
that's Francis de Sales.
Okay, that's right down here on Gravois here.
Yeah.
How did you know which, I'm going to call landmarks or buildings or things to talk about and take pictures of?
I've been writing about this for a long time, and I just walked. And of course, when I work with my publisher, we've got to be here. It says he helped me. He approved all of the whole map, and I knew where it would pass. It says we got to mention this. We got to mention the old cutest funeral home, and so after that, I just made my own comments about it. Then he said, rewrite it.
Didn't quite make the cut.
Yeah, and then there was the Lafayette Square segment. I had to rewrite it 8 times.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Was it because of the length, or was it because of just he wanted some other things in there?
All kinds of things. I think it worked out better. You can't just turn it in, and that's
what editors do, right?
Yeah, that's why we hate them.
Oh my gosh.
We're talking and laughing with Jim Merkel about his new book, Walking South City. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. So can somebody take this book? I know you don't have the map in here, but can they just go, your first neighborhood, your first chapter in here is, I'm turning there, or there we go, walking in the footsteps of Ulysses Grant, Gravois to Chippewa. Can they actually follow your footsteps here and go this direction, or is it just a read, or can they do it? Can they physically walk it?
You can physically walk it, and if you're confused by a certain thing, you can always just hop over the part you're confused about. But most of it, I say I went from here to here, and I made a left, and then I went from here to here. We tried to make it like not winding. We tried to make it as straight. I guess I ought to make a map, but I wasn't able to do it with Google Maps because Google Maps only allows 10 turns.
Oh, wow.
And the one, I guess I could buy something, and I had to put a couple maps together or whatever, and I tried that the other day, and it was just scribbles, but I guess somebody will push me down and say, here's a marker, fix it.
There you go.
And then, so if anybody wants to call me and arrange a tour, I can do that too. Yeah.
Now we've just got a few minutes left. Where are you going to be? You're going to be signing the book.
Right.
What are those places? And
well, I'm going to be at Elders Antiques, which is in the Antique Row of Cherokee Street from 9 to 5 p.m. on Memorial Day.
Okay.
And you can also check my website. My website is Jim Merkel, the writer, and .com, of course, and you can also buy a book there.
Okay, that's JimMerkelTheWriter.com. You can also get the book at Reedy Press. Jim's going to be at Elder Antiques on Antique Row on Cherokee Street on Memorial Day from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock. So, folks, if you have some time to do that, please get out and do that. It's a very interesting book. There's a lot of historical little tidbits in here that I was not aware of. And I always like to pick up new kinds of things about the city in which we live, because we live in a very historic and a very wonderful city.
Oh, yeah, we do. And we got our problems, and you see them on 10 o'clock news. But,
yeah, everybody's got it.
It's a great place to live, too.
It is. We appreciate you coming in, Jim. Don't forget, folks, Jim's going to be at Antique Row, Cherokee Street from 9 to 5 on Memorial Day. We'll be right back after this break. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. This is Arnold Stricker of St. Louis in Tune on behalf of the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation. In 1857, the Dred Scott decision was a major legal event and catalyst that contributed to the Civil War. The decision declared that Dred Scott could not be free because he was not a citizen. The 14th Amendment, also called the Dred Scott Amendment, granted citizenship to all born or naturalized here in our country and was intended to overturn the U.S. Supreme Court decision on July 9, 1868. The Dred Scott Heritage Foundation is requesting a commemorative stamp to be issued from the U.S. Postal Service to recognize and remember the heritage of this amendment by issuing a stamp with the likeness of the man Dred Scott. But we need your support and the support of thousands of people who would like to see this happen. To achieve this goal, we ask you to download, sign, and share the one-page petition with others. To find the petition, please go to dredscottlives.org and click on the Dred Scott Petition Drive on the right side of the page. On behalf of the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation, this has been Arnold Stricker of St. Louis In Tune.
You know, each time that we plan a show for St. Louis In Tune, we strive to bring you informative, useful, and reflective stories, as well as interviews about current and historic issues and events that involve people, places, and things. And while St. Louis In Tune originates from the Gateway City and covers local topics, we also connect what's going on nationally as well. Our topics cover a wide range of arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, health, history, housing, humor, justice, sports, and that's just to name a few. We know there's many radio stations, programs, even podcasts that you could be listening to, and we're glad that you've chosen to listen to St. Louis In Tune. If you've missed any of our previously aired programs of St. Louis In Tune, simply visit stlintune.com. That's stlintune.com. There, you'll find every show from our first to our most current. Use the search engine to look for a show that might interest you from one of the many topics that we've covered. And drop us a line and tell us how we're doing. You can do that at stlintune@gmail.com. That's stlintune@gmail.com. St. Louis In Tune, heard Monday through Friday on the USRadioNetwork.com and many great radio stations around the U.S. and, of course, right here in St. Louis. And don't forget, check out our website, stlintune.com. That's stlintune.com.
Welcome back to St. Louis In Tune. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston. I want to remind you about the information that we talked about with Jim Merkel from his new book, Walking South City, A Journey Through Historic St. Louis Neighborhoods. There's just a lot of little tidbits in there that you would not normally know unless you were doing some research on your own. Some great photographs. He's going to be at Elder Antiques on Antique Row on Cherokee Street on Memorial Day from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock. You can purchase the book or get more information at Jim Merkel, the writer, Merkel, JimMerkelTheWriter.com, or go to Reedy Press, and you can get information that way. Speaking of Memorial Days coming up on Monday, and we annually pay tribute to those who have fallen and paid the ultimate sacrifice to our country and for us. And so this is our honoring of those who have fallen. We're going to read some poems and listen to some music. We walked among the crosses where our fallen soldiers lay, and listened to the bugle as taps began to play. The chaplain led a prayer. We stood with heads bowed low, and I thought of fallen comrades I had known so long ago. They came from every city across this fertile land that we might live in freedom. They lie here 'neath the sand. I felt a little guilty. My sacrifice was small. I only lost a little time, but these men lost their all. Now the services are over for this Memorial Day. To the names upon these crosses, I just want to say, thanks for what you've given. No one could ask for more. May you rest with God in heaven from now through evermore. When America had an urgent need, these brave ones raised a hand. No hesitation held them back. They were proud to take a stand. They left their friends and family. They gave up normal life. To serve their country and their God, they plowed into the strife. They fought for freedom and for peace on strange and foreign shores. Some lost new friends. Some lost their lives in long and brutal wars. Other veterans answered a call to support the ones who fought. Their country had requirements for the essential skills they brought. We salute every one of them, the noble and the brave, the ones still with us here today and those who rest in a grave. So here's to our country's heroes. They're a cut above the rest. Let's give the honor that is due to our country's very best. So remember those we've loved, who fought for us and died, and those we never knew, for whom others mourned and cried. Remember those who served before. Remember those who are no more. Remember those who serve today. Remember them as we eat and play. Remember our protectors who are not home today. Remember them all on Memorial Day.
Amen.
So I know that one of the things the Scouts do is put flags on graves on Memorial Day. Isn't that right, Mark?
Yeah, we do. We go to Jefferson Barracks, and boy, I can't remember the number, but it's, I think, 100,000 or better. And then we go to the Jewish cemeteries around St. Louis. And it's one of the biggest events that the Scout community does, the Scouting community does. And it's organized. There's Scouts there all day. And they're Cub Scouts, so the ones that are from first grade all the way up till they're 18-year-olds and all the adult leaders. And it's a wonderful event where a Scout will place a flag at a grave and salute. They'll use the Scout salute, and they'll salute the grave and then move on to the next one. They get a patch for it, but many of them don't care about the patch. They just want to be there. And it's quite a somber event. I know it's the unofficial start of summer, which is great. But for me, it's always been a kind of a quiet, just
reflective.
Yeah, something just isn't right. We barbecue, we enjoy our family. It's wonderful that we're all together. And I think that's one of the benefits of having the day off, is that you can really make an attempt to try to be with your family. And because
the families were literally broken up or in some cases destroyed by the loss of a son or daughter or multiple sons, like in the case in World War II.
It's quite a sacrifice. I just hope folks would just stop, pause, and just try to think of these families that have lost loved ones, young sons and daughters for wars. Many sometimes were like pointless. They should never have started in the first place. We should have stepped in earlier and stopped it. I would argue what's going on with Putin. And I don't blame the Russian people as much as I blame that particular person. But boy, the sacrifice. We talk about sacrifice, but do you really reflect on what that means? The sacrifice, your life, the years that you've just lost with that loved one, the years that they have lost with you.
I don't think people think about that until it happens to someone they know.
Yeah. And it's sad, and unfortunately, that's the sad truth of the matter.
And I remember when we were in high school, and it really happened prior to, there were individuals who were in school who, during the Vietnam War, died during the Vietnam War.
Oh, yeah.
And, when people don't come back, and you knew them, and they were just 18 or 19 years old, it's a little sobering.
Yeah,
because that could be you.
So much could have. And they're going to get married. They could have gotten married. They could have had children. And maybe one of those children came up with the cure for cancer. But now that's been squashed out. And the joy that a grandchild would bring to the older people in that family, and the contributions that they could make, and the joy and the love, it kills. I think my number was 26 or something like that.
You were high, yeah.
In the
mine wasn't that high. It was like
I was low.
I was in the hundreds. Yeah, I was in the hundreds.
Yeah, no, I was going.
So what we're talking about, the draft, folks.
Yeah, the lottery. They had a lottery because they couldn't get enough young 19-year-olds to
enlist,
sign up, and go.
So you got called. Your number got called. You went.
Yeah. So they said, okay, here's your number for your birthday. And this year we're going to ask for everybody from 0 to 110. If that's your number, you're gone. You're done. You went.
If people have seen cemeteries, that's one thing. If you've not seen a United States military cemetery, you're really missing something.
We've gone. My family's gone to Washington, D.C. quite a few times. And
Arlington?
We always make it a point to go to Arlington. And undoubtedly we'll be over by Kennedy's grave or Robert Kennedy's grave or something. And sure, nearby, there is a full military funeral going on. And it's quite a sight to see. And it'll make you pause. It'll stop you. And people stop. If they're going to tours, wanting to experience Arlington, it's pretty overwhelming, too. Oh. Arlington is pretty overwhelming.
And even here in St. Louis, Jefferson Barracks, there are burials like every hour. As a matter of fact, sometimes they're 3 an hour. And it's a very sobering thing to see these. And if you have an opportunity you can do this on Google Earth, or you can do this. There's some videos about this where there's flyovers of the U.S. military cemeteries in France and Belgium and other countries. It's pretty sobering to see the sacrifice there.
And when they stormed the beaches of Normandy, just get off the boat and die. I mean,
Yeah, not even get off sometimes.
I know. It's amazing the life that was lost, and just I don't know.
So we want to honor those who have fallen and the families of those who have fallen. And if you have the opportunity, I think it's 3 o'clock on Memorial Day. It's a time of reflection and pause that you remember those who have fallen on Memorial Day, and that's this coming Monday.
Wow.
I want to shift a little gears here. There are several activities going on in the metropolitan area this summer. I want to highlight a couple of those for you. And we're going to do this over the next several shows. But if you're getting ready for summer and you want to do some things, the Whitaker Music Festival is back at the Missouri Botanical Gardens. And that will start Wednesday, May the 31st, and it runs for 10 weeks. The concerts are, you can get in at 5 o'clock. The concerts are at 7. And so if you want more information, you can go to the Whitaker Music Festival, just look that up, or go to the Missouri Botanical Garden website, and they can give you some more information about that. And also, the St. Louis Art Museum is going to be beginning their Art Hill film series on Fridays. That actually starts in July.
That's fun.
And yeah, they're very fun. The events, they have music and food, and that's at 6 o'clock. And then the films begin around 9 o'clock. They're going to be doing that July 14th, the 21st, and the 28th.
Love it.
You want to check that out, and you can get more information on that. Just go to the slam.org, SLAM, that's the St. Louis Art Museum.org for information on that.
Okay, SLAM. I like it. Slam.org. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, St. Louis Art Museum.
Coffee. We had talked on a show about coffee, but I wanted to mention what are the top health benefits of drinking coffee. Now, I'm going to qualify this.
Please do.
This is qualified because it's by the National Coffee Blog.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they got these all by WebMD or whatever. You could live longer, number one.
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
All right.
Here's number 2. Your body may process glucose or sugar better.
What if you put sugar in it, though? Okay, sorry.
I don't know. Maybe it counteracts
I don't mean to be, yeah.
Number 3. You're less likely to develop heart failure.
With coffee?
With coffee.
No.
Drinking 1 or 2 cups a day may help, the key word,
okay.
ward off heart failure when a weakened heart has difficulty pumping enough blood to the body.
Oh, okay. So it gives you that little jolt.
Okay.
That little kick in the pants.
Here's another one. This is number 4. You are less likely to develop Parkinson's disease.
Oh, I like that. Okay, I'm all for that.
Number 5. Your liver will thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Number 6. Your DNA will be stronger.
Oh, we need that.
Apparently, dark roast coffee decreases the breakage in the DNA strands, which occurs naturally, but can lead to cancer or tumors if not repaired by your cells.
Oh.
So
drinking coffee could be a cancer
helper. Oh, no, cancer
fighter. Thank you. Okay. Right.
Your odds of getting colon cancer will go way down.
I like that. Let's hear about that.
Number 8, you may decrease your risk of getting Alzheimer's.
What?
So Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cancer, all go down if you're drinking coffee. And lastly, you're not as likely to suffer a stroke.
Now you're talking.
So now a lot of that is linked to, I think some of that research is linked to women and not necessarily men. But and again, folks, that is from the National Coffee Blog. Okay, so it could be just propaganda.
Not scientific?
Not scientific.
No, okay.
It could be that. Now, we had talked about some social media nonsense.
Oh, no.
I want to read. Yeah, exactly. I want to read something.
What?
I can talk about this, but this is from the article is on social media, and it's from the Stat News, statnews.com. I'll put the link in when we post this on the website, which is stlintune.com, stlintune.com. But this is from the Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, and this just came out. Okay. It is entitled Social Media Risks for Young Mental Health Highlighted in the new Surgeon General report. And what he says is he gave a warning, he gave an advisory Tuesday, warning about social media's impact on developing young brains. And there's a lot of validity to this from the neuroscience community also.
Okay.
Matter of fact, those people who are in charge of Google and Apple and all of the tech places, none of their kids, they don't allow their kids social media, and they don't even allow their kids to use, except for certain periods of time, television or any kind of electronic device. Now, go figure. And that's an old kind of, if they don't allow that, but that's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. He says, through the last 2.5 years I've been in office, I've been hearing concerns from kids and parents. Parents are asking, is social media safe for my kids? Based on a review of the data, there isn't enough evidence that it is safe for our kids. The report comes in the wake of a recent health advisory on teens and social media use by the American Psychological Association, the APA, which noted the increased risk of anxiety and depression among adolescents who are exposed to discrimination and bullying online.
Oh, yeah.
Other research has shown adolescents 12 to 15 who spent more than 3 hours per day on social media face a heightened risk of experiencing poor mental health outcomes compared to those who spent less time online. That just makes sense,
Yeah.
okay? And he talks about policymakers. I'm not going to read all of this because there's another article that I might highlight. There was a 2022 Pew Research Center survey which found, for example, that 80% of teens report that social media helps them feel more connected to what's going on with their friends' lives, while 67% said that social media made them feel like they have people who can support them through tough times. Now, there's a plus and a minus with that, because what I would say, there's an article that talks about the downside, that some kids are spending as much as 18 hours on their phones on social media.
Is that a week, a month?
A day.
18 hours.
A day.
18 hours.
Because kids walk around, if you're looking right now at me on the camera, this is how kids walk around. Or kids are talking about, teachers are specifically talking about this, that they can't get things done in the classroom because this device has interrupted their learning, or their ability to help kids learn. And now some school districts say, we allow kids to use their phones because they can look up things. What happens is they're doing it on the sly, and when they get called out for it because it's a distraction to themselves or other people's learning, then there's this fight on your hands, and schools and school districts have rules on hand. You're not supposed to use your phone during class because we all have computers to use. Maybe they provide those.
Right.
They're doing it underneath the table. They're doing it in their, some kids can text with the phone in their pocket. There's just ways around it.
Wait, let's not forget the new Apple Watch.
The new watches. There are some school districts, University City being one, you would put it in a bag and you would close it up. And this is very similar to what Taylor Swift does at her concerts and other performers.
Oh, yes.
You put because they don't want it videotaped, they don't want it recorded.
That's
so you put
right.
your phone in this bag, it's sealed up. And at the end of the day, you go to an area where you can open it. It's like going through, like if you're buying a piece of clothing,
Right.
it has one of those.
Right. I went to a
alarms on
concert
it.
that did that. So
Did you keep the bag or did you store the bag somewhere?
No, I kept the bag.
Okay.
You get it in the bag, but they seal it,
And you can't open it up.
No, the only way to, and this is a cloth bag, and then going out was a mess because they didn't have enough people.
Where those things were?
Yeah, where they could just open them up for you.
Yeah.
And they'd open them up as fast as they could, and
Yeah.
we got out of there. And I went, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
So you're a teacher. Let's just say you're a teacher today. Are you going to allow kids to have phones in the classroom? And why? Either way.
Let me preface that by this, because I know we do have a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
Do the pluses outweigh the negatives for three groups? For parents, because parents need to say no. Matter of fact, there's an article. This is the other article I was going to talk about. The parents saying no to smartphones. Okay? So there's a group who say, I always want to be connected with my child. Excuse me. Because of incidents that happen at school. Okay? I always need to. And teachers get interrupted during the day because a phone will ring or the student will get a text and their parents just wanting to talk to them. Seriously? Okay? So we've created a culture that we have to now get out of, all right? That's from the parent's perspective, all right? The student's perspective, that they can't disconnect or they get validation from if I'm doing a TikTok or I'm doing a this or I'm doing a that or I'm dissing this or I'm making somebody look stupid or funny with the photograph. How many of them actually use it for quote-unquote educational purposes, okay? I'm going to guess less than 0.5%, okay? Yeah. And then from the teacher's perspective, you have varied learning degrees going on in your classroom. You don't need any more interruptions. There's enough interruptions with just basic discipline. There's enough interruptions with, I don't really understand what you're saying. Can you explain that? Or the kid who gets it and who's bored out of their mind. So now when you add another factor into that, it just creates additional kinds of waste of time, waste of energy. So I'm all for, if it was me,
So your policy is?
my policy would be bag it.
Bag it. I'm with you.
Put it in the bag. We're going to provide this for you, and here's why. And you would have to go about doing that on a small scale and start big, then and have it grow. And small scale because you can't just all of a sudden blatant do that unless there was some real problem issues with it. And I will tell you, parents, what some of those real problem issues are.
One thing I wanted to add to that, though, I would cold turkey them, but nowadays many of the school districts are giving out laptops.
Right.
And they're in the class with their laptop.
Right.
So they can certainly use the laptop to do the research they want. My kids, they grew up with the laptops. They were given to them when they hit middle school. And I ask them a question, and if they don't know, they can look stuff up on Google or whatever faster than you can blink an eye. I've never seen them look up information so fast. Whether or not they're absorbing it, I don't know. But they can also go to, that's why I would pull the phone completely. But they can still go to Facebook or TikTok or whatever they do on their laptop as well. So just taking that one thing out of their possession, I don't think is...
See, I wouldn't even allow anything except anything that related to educational. Matter of fact, on the laptop, that's hooked into the school system. Matter of fact, there's software that says, if I'm the teacher, I can see what everybody's on their screen on my screen.
That would be great. That'd be great.
And then when they shut it down, it wipes everything that previously had been on there and comes back up to a static kind of setting that the school district has given them. So because kids will add all this other kind of junk on their computers, and they don't need it on there.
No, they don't.
And so what they're doing, too, in the meantime, let me find this statistic here because I thought it was just very interesting. It's hard for parents to say no to these things because it's peer pressure from kids.
Yeah.
So there's they call them dumb phones. They look just like a smartphone, but they don't go on the internet. They'll call and they'll allow texting.
Okay.
But they'll look just like a smartphone, but they won't allow any apps or anything on them like that.
Because I understand a parent wanting to be, heaven forbid, in the times we are, if something happens at school, you want to be able to talk to the kid. They'd like to talk to you.
But there have always been situations where,
correct,
through time,
I know where you're going. Yep,
that have occurred where schools have been able to get in contact with parents. That's why you give emergency numbers, et cetera, like that. So the fact that parents need to be there immediately, or they think they can run in and get their child if there's a situation that's going on, the answer is no. And I say that because I used to be a building principal, and it's like there's enough to deal with. And
the
things
situation.
And sometimes it just depends upon, they're safer there than if you try to come up and get them. Like during a snowstorm or during a tornado or something like that. But the kids have been found to have an addiction, a tech addiction.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I'm talking about this 18 hours a day. Or it was, I can't find it. I recall it's 2/3 of teens have already been exposed. They expose themselves weekly to porn on their phones. Okay? So it's like, parents, where do you want to draw the line with this stuff? And kids are smart. They know how to have a couple social media accounts. Yeah, here's my social media account. That's not the one they use. Yeah. That's the one they're showing you. Yeah. So it's just being smart about things. It's where we are in our culture today and in our society. And I see adults like that. It's kind of watching people sit around at a restaurant. They all got their phones out. Or they're obviously talking to each other.
I know. What is that?
Put the phone down. Leave the phone. Don't leave the phone in the car.
No.
Put it under your leg.
What is that? I know.
I always thought this is a joke, folks. You get a blocker so that they can't pick up any signals in the school. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I can't get on Wi-Fi. No, we block Wi-Fi. Oh, I can't get on. They'll bring a hotspot. You block everything that the school doesn't want them to use. But hey, you can use this. Okay. And again, I would say this, Mark. This is a tool. A computer's a tool. Looking up things on the internet, it's a tool. So what do you do with the information that now you regurgitated? What does that do for you?
Not.
Does it help you, or do you just regurgitate it?
Right. I don't know. I don't think it helps too much.
So we'll close with a couple funnies here.
Okay.
Because I've got a few minutes for a couple funnies.
A National Taffy Day, by the way.
Oh, today?
Do you like taffy?
No. It gets stuck in my teeth.
I know. Yeah, I don't like taffy.
When I had braces, that was the end of my taffy time.
And there's another one I wanted to mention, and it's National Lucky Penny Day.
Ooh.
Now, I have a question, though, before, and this is my only question.
Okay.
Find a penny, pick it up, and all the day you'll have good luck. Now, I get superstitious because some say if the penny is
Heads or tails?
heads up, it's lucky.
Okay.
If it's tails up, it's not.
So you leave it down on the ground then?
That's hard to do. It's only a penny, but it's hard to do. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, just pick it up.
Pick it up? Okay.
Yeah, but only if I have a glove on.
You think it's going to be...
I never know where it's been.
Lucky or not? Okay, that's true. That's all right. Okay. All right, your turn. Okay.
When a cougar gets so old she needs a hearing aid, she becomes a deaf leopard.
Oh.
There's a company that has created a wearable beanbag chair so you can lay down whenever and wherever you want. You should see some of these pictures.
Oh, my.
9 out of 10 times when I lose something, it's because I put it in a safe place. Honestly, that's true for me. That's very true for me. Let's see. Here's another one. Okay, that's not it. That's not it.
Hands on those buzzers, please.
Yeah,
Please
that's
don't
exactly
pop those
right.
buttons until an answer is exposed.
Oh, thank you, Art Fleming. Old age comes at a bad time. When you finally know everything, you start to forget everything you know.
Wow. Yeah. Hurt me. Okay.
Got up this morning and ran around the block 5 times. Then I got tired, so I picked up the block and put it back in the toy box.
No. Why do you do this?
Let's see here. What do you call a magician who's lost his magic?
I don't know.
Ian.
Ian.
What do you call a magician who's lost his magic? Ian.
I get it now. Okay. Wow.
I'm so old, I remember a hashtag was called a pound sign, and we played tic-tac-toe.
Oh, boy.
I bet jellyfish are so sad that there are no peanut butter fish.
That's really bad, Arnold. That's really bad.
Here's some dad. You like dad jokes, and we'll close with this. These are dads naming boats. A boat time. Pier, P-I-E-R, pressure. An aquaholic.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
Cirrhosis of the river. That's pathetic.
Yes, it is. Let's hear it for the patheticness.
All right. You're not pathetic for listening, and we're not pathetic for doing it. Because we're just trying to make your day make my day. That's all for this hour. Thanks for listening, folks. Don't forget, when the Martians invade, we need to make their day and tell them there's only one race, the human race, and every one of us have different characteristics and is uniquely valuable. For St. Louis in Tune, this is Arnold Stricker. We're a production of Motif Media Group and the U.S. Radio Network. He's Mark Langston. I'm Arnold Stricker. Remember, walk worthy and let your light shine.